bass.
So what happened next? Because the KGs continued, they had two more albums, but you sort of, as far as I can tell, moved over to the Kool and the Gang side of things.
Yes, yes. After that, we were on the road, and with I guess it was the Find a Friend album. We were touring on that album, and I guess times were getting kind of hard. It was getting kind of hard. We had to keep going back to the record company to ask for advances to continue with our tour, and I think I had left and went back home for some reason. I don't know if it was family situation or something, but I had left the road. They stayed on the road, and at that time, Ricky Westfield, who was Kool and the Gang's keyboard player, he was missing some shows. He not making it to the airport on time and missing a lot of shows, and they were getting upset. They needed somebody that they could depend on to be there. So Ronald asked me to come on. I guess I knew all their material already, so he asked me to come on and take Ricky's place. And I didn't believe it at first. When they came to get me, I thought he was joking. I thought he was like, "Are you serious? Are you serious? You want Ricky West? And you want me to take Ricky West's place?" And he's like, "Yeah, come on, man, come on. You got to do it. You can do it." So I was happy to do it. Yeah, I was happy to. Oh man, that was like the highlight of, maybe that was the highlight of my life. It's like, man, playing with Kool and the Gang. I cherished and honored these guys all my life. Now I get a chance to play with them. It's like they're the top group in Jersey City. People gonna say, "Oh man, I used to play with Kool and the Gang." And it's like that's honor. That was honor.
Yeah, called up to the big leagues.
Yes, yeah. Right.
So I'm guessing your first thing with them was probably playing some shows, right? Rather than going in the studio.
No, we had to finish up. I think we were finishing up their album. Actually, yeah, we were finishing up the Open Sesame album.
Oh.
And I got a chance to go in there and finish up some of those songs. And that was my first song, Open Sesame, with Kool and the Gang, which became a big hit, big disco hit in Saturday Night Fever. Was it?
Yeah, Fever.
Yeah. And some other songs that wasn't finished, I got a chance to play on with that album. That album was already, I guess you can say that the cover was completed and all the credits were already on it. So I didn't get credit for playing on that one, which didn't bother me. It didn't bother me a bit. You know, I know I played on it, but I guess nobody else seen.
Hey, well, that's fantastic, because now viewers and listeners know that, because I didn't know that because you weren't credited. So.
Yes, right. That's right.
Yeah. So, what was it like when you got out on the road with them, and were some of their tracks challenging, or you took it in stride?
Yes, that was more challenging because Ricky was a very good keyboard player, and trying to step in his shoes was like, these were different parts. Now these were different parts that colleagues that Ronald Bell had wrote. These parts were much more complicated and more stretched out, more chords played. We were playing that bubble. I mean, it wasn't bubblegum with KGs, but it wasn't. It was like you said, it went up to the big leagues, and it was a little bit more difficult, challenging. Yeah, that you had to play. Yeah, you had to play much harder.
So in concert, were you getting to play like the lines on like Summer Madness and things like that, or?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. He redid Summer Madness, so I had a chance to play on that live when they recorded that live version. I played on that, and
The one
yeah,
on the one that's on Love and Understanding.
is that the live version? That's
Live
on.
version's on that record.
Yeah, I guess that's well. I haven't heard it on the Love and Understanding. I know there was a Kool and the Gang album. There was a Kool and the Gang greatest hits. I guess one of the greatest hits that were back. One of the first greatest hits. I think it was on that. But it was on there. If not the first one, the second one. But if it's on the Love and Understanding one, yeah, yes.
Wow, such a great
I
track.
remember. I remember playing Love and Understanding. Yes.
I mean, so many of them are just awesome tracks, But
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just curious, if you were really having to, challenge yourself on some of those, and
That was a challenge. That
yeah,
was a challenge. Yes. Yeah. That music was, yeah, as we could say, heavy. Yeah. That was heavy. Yeah. So, but once he taught me the parts, and you practice the parts, and you continue to play, keep playing them over and over, keep playing them over, and finally you get it. Yeah. You get it. He, I was playing keyboards, and Ronald was playing the solo on that Summer Madness. He played the ARP 2600 solo on there, and yeah, that was great. That was great.
um, so the Force record we mentioned before we went on air, but I really love it. And actually, I had it a lot of the records. I had everything on vinyl at one time, and
Yes.
then I got rid of a lot of the vinyl, and I got CDs. But then a lot of the records took forever to come out on CD.
Yeah.
So, and that's one of them that didn't
Oh
come out
yeah.
for a while.
Yes.
So, there's some pictures of the band in here. Are you actually in any of the pictures? Do you know?
Are there pictures in there? In there?
Well, like that.
Oh. Yeah. We had actually not that one. I didn't know that one was in there. But we had
There's that one.
Okay, let me see. Not that one either. There was one with some uniforms. We had some metallic. It looked like metallic uniforms that we wore for the Force album.
No, the only other one they have in there is that one.
Oh, okay. No, not in that one either.
Well, in any case, that record had A Place in Space, Slick Super Chick, which I think was a single,
Mhm.
The Force, and maybe my favorite, Mighty Mighty High.
Yes, yes. To this day, that's my favorite also. Yes, that's one of Ronald Bell's babies. Yeah, yes, yeah. He had me. Well, when he played it, I think he was playing. He when he taught it to us, he was playing bass guitar when he made up the song. So I got a chance to create my own keyboard part, and he really liked that keyboard, the piano little slick part that I play in there. He really liked that. He was like, keep it right there. Yeah.
Did it doesn't show on here? Did you get a writing credit or no?
Yeah.
You did.
Yes.
Nice. Um, so, Life's a Song, very Earth, Wind, and Fire style track on there.
Yes. Yeah. That one, I should have got more credit on that one because that I created that with that keyboard part, and Claytis, the guitar part, he wrote a whole song on it. I was just doodling with those two chords, playing that ba 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 ba. Then I changed it, go down a whole step ba 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 ba. So he liked that. He liked that. And I guess he came back and had a song with it. So, but he didn't um, he didn't say I collaborated with it. That was his song. So he took he took my song and made a song out of it, but he took all the credit. And he made a nice song. That was a nice song. That was a nice song.
Yeah. So, what do you recall? Anything specifically about being in the studio with Kool and the Gang for a whole album and creating that? What were they like in the studio?
Oh, they were great. They were great guys. I mean, that's when you got a chance to learn a lot of music, even watching them mix it down or produce it. Actually sitting there with Ronald, with the engineers, and watch him produce it was fantastic. It was very creative, very creative. I mean, he taught me so much. And the other guys, I mean, watching Claytis, how he played guitar, and also wrote a book. He was a great musician. Guys were great, all of them. Spike Mickens, trumpet player, very quiet but awesome trumpet player. George Brown, funny guy, yeah. And they were all business. I mean, they were all business, but we had some good times in the studio. I remember those days. Very clear.
Now, they would, like 2 years later, they would add JT and, totally change their sound and all that because they were starting to tail off in terms of sales and radio play. So for my money, The Force was the last classic early period Kool and the Gang record, with the hard, horn-driven, pure funk.
Right, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that album, The Force, yes. Yeah, I remember writing, just hearing the track itself, the basic track. We would go down to Philadelphia to record that. And riding on the turnpike, we just playing it over and over and over and over, till we got to the studio. So once you got to the studio, you basically knew what you were gonna play on top of that. Yeah, and we didn't know what Ronald was gonna come up with the horn parts, but we had the rhythm. Parts pretty much, just hearing it over and over, taking that ride every night down to Philly, staying overnight, coming back, going back down there. That was great. Delight had a recording studio in Philadelphia that was called Delight. I think it was Delight Sound. Yeah, in Philly where we recorded that. And I think there was we had some Philly international guys in there writing in a different room, which was that was great to see. You could walk in the next room and see them guys on the piano writing songs for the OJs or Intruders or Harold Melvin and Blue Note or whoever. Yeah.
Wow, that's got to give you goosebumps right there.
Yes.
So the KGs continued on for 2 more records, but you were not a part of that anymore?
No. Yes, I did. I did help out with that album. They called me to come in and do some studio work with that.
Kilowatt was the album.
The album was Kilowatt?
Yeah.
Kilowatt album, yes. Yeah, I did some things on that. Played on Cheek to Cheek.
Uh-huh.
Played organ on that, organ and keyboards. There was another. We had another guitar player that came later in the group with the KGs. His name was Fernando Orocho, and he played more lead. He was like a soloist, and he had a song called Tango Hustle, and I played piano on that one. Came and played piano and overdubs, doing some overdubs on that one. Yeah.
That's good to know, Kevin, because you're not on the credits I have for that
Right.
record. So
Right. Yes.
I thought it seemed odd that you would have been just completely, because you're still in that family, you know?
Yes. Right. Right. Right.
Um,
They left both of us out on the credits of that one. I guess they were kind of perplexed with me leaving and going with the Kool and the Gang. I did get a chance to play, but I think there was always some. I felt the vibe wasn't the same. The vibe wasn't the same. They wanted me to play because nobody else played piano. So the piano parts that they had for that album, they called me to do. Didn't worry about getting paid for it. Just wanted to help out. But it felt different from when I was with them, and you could feel the tension. It was a little bit of tension.
there was still, for my money, a lot of good funk on that record. And Cheek to Cheek, which you mentioned, was sort of like, I felt like it was a little more Ohio Players kind of funk vibe.
That's what everybody says. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I think we were right in their zone. We were right in their zone on that one. Yeah, that was a strong track. That
Definitely.
was a strong track. Yeah.
Bass player really got off on that one.
Yes. Yes. That was Michael Cheek. Yeah. That was up his alley. We thought that was going to take off. We thought that one was going to take off big time. But again, I think the record company promotion wasn't behind them like it was supposed, like it should have been, to get the airplay that we needed.
Let's say it was a weird period overall because of transitioning a lot, in a lot of cases, transitioning toward more disco stuff, and a lot of, especially the record labels, were kind of pushing people towards more disco-y type stuff.
Yes.
So it was tough to keep, one foot still in the funk and one
In the
foot kind of
funk,
dabbling
yeah,
in disco.
Yeah, we didn't like that disco. We didn't like. I guess we didn't enjoy that too much. That disco, almost. I guess it was more house music. Yeah, disco feel. And we were funksters. We was heavy into the funk. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, as a funk fan, I mean, it's like, oh man, that one's too disco, But it was okay, I guess, if it sold and kept those funk bands making enough money so they can continue to earn a living.
Yeah.
But when they tried disco and the label didn't really push it and it failed, it was like, wow, they abandoned their core and they got hung out to dry,
Right. That's right. Yeah. Terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they had to leave their original sound. Yeah, to try and do somebody else's music, to try to do another genre of music. Yeah, disco that didn't work for everybody.
Unfortunately, there weren't too many, record executives who really had their finger on the pulse of funk anyway. So, but that record, though, I want to mention also on Kilowatt, the KG's opening theme song was very much sort of an Open Sesame kind of track.
Yeah. Right.
And you mentioned the Tango Hustle, which was sort of a disco-y instrumental, but nice guitar work. Was that Amir or Kevin on that one?
That wasn't. That was the other brother that came with us at a later point. I think he came with us on. Did he do the Find a Friend album? I guess he started with the Find a Friend album, but that was Fernando Orocho.
Oh, okay.
That was Fernando with the guitar on that one.
The title track was another good Kool and the Gang style force it, kind of like the Force a little bit, that Kilowatt track.
Kilowatt.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you had the straight disco stuff, toward space disco and good feel and
Oh, see that now that was us trying to put our hand into that disco. Yeah, it
yeah.
didn't pan out.
Meanwhile, you were working with Kool and the Gang on their Everybody's Dancing album, which
Yes.
was their final record before JT came on. And they were straddling some disco too, especially the title track. And it had some strings on it and was like, definitely a departure.
Oh, everybody's dancing. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I think Ronald he did that, and he had the idea of Open Sesame. He did it the same way he did almost Open Sesame. He starts out slow, kind of churchy in the intro, and then he changed, and then it picks up and goes into that heavy disco, not disco, not completely disco, but
It was
almost an Open Sesame feel.
yeah. It was like classic Kool and the Gang collided with disco.
Yes, yeah. That's good. That's a good way. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that album still had some great funk tracks too, like Dancing Shoes, Big Chief Funkum, um, At the Party.
at the party. Yeah. And enjoyed doing that album. Enjoyed doing that too. That was a little tough because we were trying some stuff, keeping it simple and trying to get that another commercial hit, because there wasn't one. Mighty Mighty High off of the Force album got airplay, but not too many other songs. So we were trying to find that next Kool and the Gang hit there with Everybody's Dancing. I believe they did get a lot of airplay with the title track, Everybody's Dancing. You mentioned, what's the name of that? One of them you mentioned, Dancing Shoes.
Yeah.
Dancing Shoes, At the Party. Trying to find that next hit.
I Like Music was pretty much was definitely more disco type.
Yeah.
And then to me, It's All You Need again had Earth, Wind and Fire kind of vibe to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yes. And we had a singer on that. Actually, that was their cousin, Royal, who did the song on our first album, Let's Boogie. He wrote that, yes. So he came in the studio and sung on that one. I think Kool and at that time we had a lot of people traveling with us. We had the girls, we had the girl vocals, we had the guy vocals, and going on tour with that one. I believe JT was there, but he was there traveling with us, but he hadn't sung yet. This is on this album, but he was traveling with us.
Hmm.
So yeah, and that we didn't get a hit off of that one. So it was like boom. That's when they had to change their producer. That's when they changed their producer to Diodato.
Yeah.
Got Diodato in there, and the hits start coming.
So what happened with Kevin Lassiter after Everybody's Dancing?
After Everybody's Dancing, came off the road again. I think I just still playing, locally with some different bands, but never went back out on the road. I think they got married, already had my daughter. My daughter was maybe 4 years old. then, and I think I had my son. I think he was 2 years old. Yeah.
Why did you part ways with the group though?
Uh, After those two albums, they had to shut it down because they didn't have any hits. We had a whole entourage traveling with us, and I guess the money got kind of short, and they had to cut everybody. I guess you could say lay everybody off. We had all the extras. We had, they had people playing extras. We had two keyboard players, um, maybe two guitar players, and all the singers. And they just wanted to go back to the original 8 guys, Kool the Gang, 8 guys with JT, and tried JT out. So everybody else had to come off the road, and that's when I'm sorry, I think that's when we did Forecast, because you mentioned Forecast.
Yeah, a few years later. Well, I don't know when you recorded it, but it didn't come out till '82.
Yeah, 82, right. So we were working locally at the time, and we just decided to we got a deal with Ariola. Do an album. We got that deal, and we put together that album to see what was going to happen, see if we could come back out, and did a whole album with Ariola, and that, I guess, after that didn't take off, I guess everybody started parting ways.
Yeah, that record I want to talk about for a moment because probably a lot of listeners and viewers are not maybe familiar with it. 82 Forecast. It was called Forecast 1. That ended up being the only one.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's a strong record, Kevin. It's very laden with hooks. The tracks are very catchy, and combination of R&B and funk and some pop, touch of rock here or there. A lot going on, and I think it was, packaged for success, but I'm not sure. I've heard that RCA, it shows here it was on RCA, but I've heard they weren't great at, R&B acts back then.
R&B acts, yeah, right.
So maybe that was part of it.
I didn't know they took it over to RCA. I know we did it on Ariola, which was a subsidiary of Arista at the time. So I don't know when RCA bought them out. Must have bought them out and bought the rights to that album. Yeah, but they weren't too high on R&B acts. So most likely they didn't put any funds behind that, any promotion or anything. Yeah.
I had Frank Richards on, this lead singer from Chocolate Milk, and he was lamenting about how RCA didn't really do a lot for them, but I've heard that. So, but I noticed on here that Amir is credited for bass.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. As I said, he played multi-instruments. Yeah, he was multi-talented. Played bass, played drums, played keyboards, played guitar, and he played them all well. He played them almost as if that was his primary instrument.
Well, because I saw there's also another group that he was part of that came out the same time. I don't know if it had anything to do with that, but Tomorrow's Edition.
Tomorrow's Edition, yes. That was the male group that was traveling with us on that Find a Friend album. I don't know if you have the liners from the CD.
Yeah.
Have the picture.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
So they finally got their own record done.
They got their own deal done, yeah. And Amir was part of that. I don't know if he produced it exclusively. I think he and another fellow that was a bass player, Greg Rafford, I think helped him produce that for Tomorrow's Edition.
Huh. Interesting. On that record, they did a cover of Walk on the Wild Side.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of off the wall.
Yeah. Their
But
hit record was "You Turn Me On." "You Turn Me On" was the hit off of that album. Yeah.
so that was a busy time for Amir. That Forecast record, I don't know if you remember these tracks, Kevin, but Too Much for My Mind, I felt like, there's a little bit of like Prince influence going on at that point.
Mhm.
Definitely more of like the synth funk R&B kind
Mhm.
of thing happening.
Oh, okay.
And some Rick James influence I felt on there.
On there with that one? Yeah.
No, with Never Too Much,
Never too much.
and some Chic style funk disco stuff like You're My One and Only.
Mm. Oh boy. You know what? I played on a couple of those tunes. I don't think I remember that one.
Party Up, that was a funky one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. That for whatever reason, that one didn't take off. So
No, that didn't take off either. Yes.
how did you feel about the incredible success that Kool and the Gang had the next year?
After I leave, and Kali's Ronald Bell, he hits this thing with celebration. I remember him doing it, and I remember playing it with him. But then I had to leave, and then it becomes this great big hit. And yeah, it wasn't a part, and not being a part of that, that kind of it hurt. It hurt because all the way up to all the way up to that point, I was with them, and then as soon as I leave, now you guys get a great big hit, and the hits just keep coming. They just keep coming. I was happy for them though. I was happy for them. That I think Celebration was 1980. I think 79 going into 80. I think that was a big one. That
Yeah.
was a
Well,
big one.
well, Ladies' Night was the first one they
Oh,
hit
Ladies
with.
Night. Ladies Night was first.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep.
Now, as a funk fan and a fan of theirs from the beginning, I wasn't wild about the new sound, but it was more pop, and
Mm,
less hardcore funk. So, but you can't argue with the success they had. So,
right. That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's when JT found his range within them. Yeah. And Ladies Night. I remember George telling the story of him walking, in New York and just seeing everybody bouncing, and that's how that bass line came to his head. Boom, 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 and wow, and it's like wow, Ladies Night, yeah, perfect party song, nightclub song, yeah.
yeah, I mean that was '79 was probably the peak year of discotheques. So,
Oh, okay, yes.
right in there, one of them anyway. There was one more KG's record I want to mention that came out in '79. So the same year that Ladies' Night came out for Kool and the Gang, the KG's final one, Burn Me Up.
Yes,
Um, and
yes.
this was like a far cry from what the KG's had been. I mean,
Oh,
very
yeah,
different.
yeah, that was some guys. That was they took over the name, and because KG's, we had, I guess we had dispersed, and the keyboard player that was with them in the beginning, he took over the name, and he formed a group with a couple of his other friends. One of them was also the guitar player that came with us was Fernando Rocho. It was another couple of guys, a singer. What's his name? Huey. Sorry, I forgot his last name. Huey was a singer.
Oh, Harris.
Huey Harris. Yes, yes, Huey Harris. Kosa was the kunga or drummer, I think. So they had a couple of guys, and They went with the producer, Kevin Bell. Kevin was supposed to produce that, I believe, but they went with Patrick Adams, who used to do Black Ivory,
Uh-huh.
and he produced it. He produced that for them. And Burn Me Up was pretty hot. Burn Me Up, I think, had a lot of airplay. And then there was one Huey Harris had wrote that Kanye had sampled. Must have been Heavenly Dream. Must have been Heavenly Dream. Yeah.
But I mean, for all intents and purposes, this was mostly a disco record, more than funk on this
Yeah. Yes.
one. And it was quite a departure.
It was. It was from the original. Yeah. Original sound. Yes. Definitely.
What a difference 5 years can make.
Yes. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So what happened to your music life after Forecast?
After Forecast, I guess you know what, that was the disco era. I think that was the whole '80s. I think I just played by myself. I just went home, and you always had a keyboard at home, but just I didn't like that disco. I couldn't, and the rap. I think the rap came after that. Rap music came after that, and that I wasn't used to that. I could never get used to that because it was more techno music. It was just beats, somebody doing beats, and then just rapping over some beats. And it's like, okay, where are the self-contained bands? Like, Earth, Wind and Fire, I guess, was still touring. Chicago was still touring. There was a couple of them, but the self-contained bands had just dissipated in that era.
Even the bands that were around, like you mentioned, Earth, Wind and Fire, they had fewer members, and even groups like Cameo cut down on
Yes.
their members,
Right.
and
Right.
because everyone was using electronics and drum machines, and
Electronics.
the horn sections were mostly,
Keyboards, keyboards playing horn parts, yeah. So the music had really lost something. It was like I really couldn't enjoy music at that time. It's like I don't even want to play that. I don't even want to play that. No, not that. Drum machines and keyboards playing synth parts, a lot of synthesizer production done at that time. And it wasn't music to me. It wasn't music. It was more just electronics, like you said.
yeah. Well, not everyone was a genius with it, like Prince. So,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yes.
so as you look back, Kevin, and as we've been doing, and I appreciate your time again.
Oh.
Are you surprised? Did you expect that the music would, still be talked about these decades later? And
Yes. Yes. Very surprised. I was surprised when you asked me about it because I thought it was forgotten. I didn't know anybody like yourself had enjoyed the KGs that much to do a whole show about them. Yeah, never had that experience before. So I didn't realize people knew that much about the KGs.
well, that's actually a big motivation for what I do also with the show Truth and Rhythm, is that, the majority of artists who were in funk bands in the 70s and even to the 80s did not get, most cases, as much coverage and media attention as, a lot of the pop artists or even jazz artists. And so, I'm trying to right that wrong. And, because it's so deserving of it. And, they don't make it like that anymore,
That's right.
So,
That's right. Yep. That's true. That's true.
so what do you think you're most proud of accomplishing musically as you look back out of everything?
I think getting the chance to record and play with Kool the Gang, I think that was my most proud moment. I believe that was my most proud one. Very proud, made me proud. All the family was proud of me. They couldn't believe it that, you know, I had made it to that point. That was a good time. That was a good time. I think I was most happy with that, most proud playing with Kool the Gang.
Is there any particular show or performance that stands out that maybe something went wrong, or something was a huge crowd that you just will never forget, or something like that?
Let's see. I think I think thinking back with the KGs, we did a show on Randall's Island. I believe it was Randall's Island. I believe Muhammad Ali was there when we did the show, and it was great getting a chance to meet him. We did another show. I don't remember exactly where, but Richard Pryor was there, and we got a chance to meet him backstage, and that was. I keep that in my memories. Yeah.
Oh. So do you still play at all nowadays, or?
Yes, still play. Oh well, there was a group. There's local groups all around. There's a local group out here in Rawway, where I'm at now, Rawway, New Jersey, and we play before the pandemic we were playing, but then I did an album. We did a gospel album with another group that was from Jersey City, and they had a couple of hit songs, and their name was Rise. And their keyboard player fell into some trouble, so we regrouped. They asked me to come and play, and we did 2 albums. Mainly gospel. I think it was gospel, because the guys were in the church, and we tried our hand at gospel. I don't know how good it came out, but it was fun doing it. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm just doing gospel Sunday at one of the churches that needed an organist, and it's like all the old musicians that don't play R&B no more. They just go to the church and start playing gospel. Gospel became a big thing now.
So I was going to say is that a lot of funk ended up going to church. I mean, if you go to churches now, you'll probably come across some funky
right.
gospel.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Kurt Franklin, a bunch of guys. Yeah, they're just blowing it up.
Yeah.
Everybody's copying off of them. Yeah.
I mean,
that's where the music is.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, it was always such a soulful, spiritual feeling that you get from funk anyway. So,
yes.
And of course, the Mothership that we mentioned earlier, that show was like going to a cathedral and a whole religious experience.
Yes, yeah, it was great. It was great.
Well, any final word out to folks that are still fans of the music?
Yeah. Well, I would hope that the music stays alive. If you have it, keep it alive. Hopefully, at some point in time, we'll hear it again on the radio. Maybe some classic R&B get played. It's still, sometimes I still play it. I still enjoy it. So I would hope that everybody that has it and that knows about it, like yourself, keep the music going. Yeah.
Well, I want to let viewers know that there's I think it's a 2 CD set out that has, I think the first 3 KG's albums are all on one set, master plan, complete recordings. So if you don't have any KGs, get that. You'll have it all, and you'll be bobbing and keeping on bumping forever.
Yes. All right. All right.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
I got to get that myself. Yeah. I have to get that myself. Oh, I thank you. I thank you, Scott. I thank you for keeping music alive. Yes, I thank you for your website. Great thing you're doing. Great thing. That's great.
Thank
That's
you.
great.
You continue to be safe.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Yes.
All right. Be
Yes.
well.